In my last video, I introduced myself to you and told you about my story, that my name is Sally and I own Sally's Necessities. After some time running my business, I wanted to get a better idea of my financial position, and so I embarked on a journey of investigating and learning about Sage Intelligence. I showed you how I got started, what information I used, introduced you to the report manager, and arranged the necessary reports to be able to view my financials. This includes the income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. We're now ready to begin working with them. In this video, I'm going to focus on the income statement and start by telling you what it is, why it is used, and show you its general format. Basically, an income statement measures how much money you make or lose over a certain period of time. It does so by comparing your revenue against the costs required to earn the revenue for that particular period. If your revenue is greater than your expenses, then you will have made a profit. And if it is less than your expenses, then you will have made a loss. An income statement can also go by the name earnings statement, statement of operations, or profit and loss statement. Income statements are usually drawn up on a monthly, quarterly, or yearly basis, or according to your specific accounting period. By doing so, you can compare from period to period whether your profitability is increasing or decreasing, and more specifically, whether this is due to rising or falling income and costs. If you have implemented budgeting, then your income statement can also tell you whether these have come in under budget or over budget. Also, by tracking your profitability over an extended period of time, you can see whether your business is growing or shrinking and helps you forecast where you may end up in several months. Having this information will help you make necessary business decisions. For example, I've had times where my profitability looked to be declining. To circumvent this, I first reviewed my costs to see if there was anything unnecessary I could cut back on. In some instances, I've taken measures like increasing commission on sales to drive more sales revenue. During times where things have looked up, I've considered replacing old equipment or expanding my facilities. Maintaining a healthy track record will also help you attract investors if you're ever looking for additional funding. Let's now take a look at the general format of an income statement. The one presented is a summarized version and doesn't show the individual accounts included in each category. This will make things easier to explain for now, and we'll look at a detailed version when we run out the Report Designer report later in this video. It is made up of two sections, operating items and non-operating items. Operating items are the revenues and expenses that relate to the primary function of your business, in my case, selling furniture. It includes your total sales, cost of sales, and operating expenses. Non-operating items refer to other gains or losses that are not part of your primary business. For example, the selling off of old equipment and costs like interest expense and income tax expense. Most of these are normally bundled under a single heading like other income and expenses. However, more important ones, like in this case, income tax expense, are reported on separate lines. 4 calculations are usually included. Gross profit is the difference between your sales and your cost of sales. It is important because it tells you whether you have enough money to cover the rest of the costs of your business. Operating profit is then calculated by subtracting your day-to-day expenses from your gross profit and tells you how much money you have made from the normal running of your business. This is before taking any operating items into account. Earnings before income tax is your operating profit less other income and expenses. Tax can be minimized in a business in different ways, and so sometimes it is useful to consider your profitability before tax is included. Lastly, net income, or the bottom line, is your earnings before tax minus your income tax expense and is the most common measure of profitability. I'm now going to go back to the Report Manager and run out the Report Designer report so that we can see its income statements in action. To run out a report, you need to select it and then click Run on the Home tab on the ribbon. The report will begin to execute, which you can see by the progress dialog that appears on the right of the window. You may be interested to know what is happening behind the scenes here. When a report is run out, a database query that is part of the report is executed against your accounting system's database based on the company you are signed into in your system. The query extracts the necessary information for the type of report, and this information is then placed in a new Microsoft Excel workbook in a raw format. The statements that are provided in the workbook work off the raw data and are now ready for you to use. They are also referred to as layouts. If you want, you can also create layouts of your own using Excel functionality like pivot tables and charts or Sage Intelligence features. In the case of the Report Designer, once the data has been placed in Excel, it is also loaded into your computer's memory in what's called the in-memory database. This has an advantage in that it makes working with the data much faster and also means that you can load more of it. Reports can also have parameters associated with them. Parameters are options that you select at runtime which have an effect on the data that is loaded. The dialog for them will appear in the Progress area near the top right of the Report Manager window. With the Designer report, this is usually the fiscal years that you want data to be pulled for. Examples of parameters in other reports are the start and end dates of transactions or the particular budget you would like to use. My Designer doesn't include any parameters and so has run out without me needing to provide any input. Once the workbook opens, you may be presented with a home page or instructions page. They provide links to various Sage Intelligence resources and guidance on using the report. Two main features are included in the Report Designer, both with the intention of report creation. These are the Layout Generator and Task Pane. The Layout Generator allows you to design comprehensive layouts using an intuitive interface and is intended for those of you who are not too familiar with Excel. Its functions can be found under the Reports group on the BI Tools tab on the menu ribbon. The Task Pane is the pane that appears on the right of the workbook when it opens and is intended for those of you who are more familiar with Excel. We're not going to worry about the details of these two features in this video. However, they are important because they tell you what layouts are included in the report and where you go to generate them. You can find a list of the available layouts in either the Quick Generate menu under the BI Tools tab or the Layouts tab in the Task Pane. Included in My Designer are 2 different balance sheets and 3 different income statements. Depending on your Sage accounting package and version, the layouts in your Designer may differ from these, but will at least include 3 or 4 income statements and a balance sheet. As you know, we're only going to look at the income statements for now, and we'll cover the balance sheets in the next video. So I'm going to start with the actual versus prior one and generate it. I'm going to do this from the Task Pane, and all I have to do is click on it and it will open in a new worksheet. One thing I remember though is that in older versions of the Report Designer, to generate a layout from the Task Pane, you have to click on it and drag it into the workbook. So watch out for this. Sage Intelligence layouts, excluding reports like dashboards for example, generally have a similar look and feel. At the top left of the worksheet are the report headings, and below them is the actual statement with account numbers or row descriptions to the left and the report data with column headings to the right. The report headings provide high-level information about the layout and in most cases can be used to dynamically change the data that is shown in it. These can vary depending on your accounting package due to the complexity of it. In my case, I have my company name, fiscal year, budget code, and reporting tree unit. Company name indicates the name of the company the report was run out for, while fiscal year gives the year of data you would like shown in the layout. Budget code gives the copy or version of the budget you want to use, but isn't relevant in this layout as no budgeting data is shown. Lastly, there is the reporting tree unit field. Reporting trees are a more advanced Sage Intelligence feature, and we're not going to cover them in this series. To give you a heads up though, they allow you to create a reporting structure which models the hierarchy of your business. Then by entering the different units of the structure in the reporting tree unit field, you can filter the data in your layout based on your hierarchy. When you generate a layout, you may find that it doesn't immediately show the data that you want. This could be because of the report headings, so before getting worried, make sure that they have the correct values. In my case, no data is shown, and it's because the year is set to 2014 when it should be set to 2016. You can change the values by typing directly in the cells. See how the data updates automatically. Another thing you'll notice is that the rows in your layout are generated at a summary level, which will depend on the groups defined in your accounting package. These can be things like account group, type, class, or category. In my case, my layout is being summarized using account categories. Included is my revenue, cost of sales, operating expenses, other income and expenses, and my income tax expense. Also, in my case, my account detail is included, but through the use of Excel row grouping has been hidden to make the report easier to read. I can tell this from the small pluses in the column to the left of the worksheet. To expand a group or show the accounts, all you have to do is click on one. Clicking again will close the group. If your layout doesn't include this, then you can change it in the layout settings. I'll show you how to do this in the next video. Moving on, the calculations of gross profit, operating profit, earnings before income tax, and net profit are also included. Taking a look at the columns, they start off with my actual year-to-date values for the current period for both my current and prior years. My actuals and prior year actuals are then given for all accounting periods during the year, with the total for each quarter. Lastly, a total for the entire year is given at the end. A variance column is also provided for each group and calculates the difference in the amounts between the current year and the previous year. This makes it easy for you to tell whether your performance for a period has increased or decreased compared to the same period in the previous year, and by how much. Let's now take a look at the actual versus budget income statement. I'm going to generate it from the task pane. You'll see that it follows the same format as the one we've just looked at. However, budget values are included instead of prior year values. In this instance, having the correct budget code in the report headings is important. As you can see, as I change the code, the values in the layout change. A variance column is also included for each period and allows you to tell whether you were under budget or over budget and by how much. Understanding the format of the data and the layouts will also help to make sense of them. In columns like actuals, prior actuals, and budgets, positive values are shown without brackets, whereas negative values are shown with brackets and in red. In variance columns, good variances are shown as positive values, and bad variances are shown as negative values. We can now take a look at the final income statement. In it, actual, budget, and prior figures are provided only for the current period and for the year-to-date. It's useful if you're wanting to make a comparison between current, past, and budgeted performance for the current period or for the year as a whole. One thing to note is that, like the layouts provided in the Report Designer and the report headings that are included in each one, depending on your accounting package, the account rows and columns included in yours may differ as well. They have, however, been defined according to the way your accounts have been set up in your system, and so should be appropriate for your needs. We have now finished looking at the income statement layouts provided in the Report Designer. The last thing I want to do is save a copy of my workbook. I'm going to use the normal Excel Save function and place it on my desktop. I'm doing this because I want to continue working from it in the next video. In this video, I started out by telling you what an income statement is and why it is used. We also looked at a sample one to understand its format. I then went back to the Report Manager, ran out the Financial Report Designer report, and generated the different income statement layouts in it. This was to teach you about the report and give you an idea of the information that you will find in yours. I suggest you do this yourself in your Sage software to become more familiar with the layouts and start drawing from the information in them to understand more about your business. In my next video, in the same way that I've done here, we'll continue with the balance sheets. I'll also teach you about some of the other great functionality in Sage Intelligence Reporting. I look forward to spending the time with you.